Ministers and police chiefs who want judges to hand down tougher sentences to deter Just Stop Oil protesters from disrupting sporting events. I mean, judges can't hand down tough sentences for people who've been convicted of 45 knife crimes. I don't know what hope they've got with this. They're urging courts to do more than simply consider protests in isolation and are examining new sentencing guidelines for public order offences, factors such as the wider risk to the public of pitch invasions and stunts and the reputational damage to Britain's ability to host sporting events without disruption should be taken into account as well, ministers and police believe. Meanwhile, Just Stop Oil said that it applauded the actions of a woman who threw orange confetti over the former Chancellor George Osborne and his new wife, Thea, as they left their wedding ceremony. Although the group said it was the lone wolf protester, this person was not a member. So should judges just get a bit harsher on Just Stop Oil? Ben Pyle, researcher and writer and co-founder of Climate Debate UK, is with us. Afternoon to you, Ben.
Oh, good afternoon, Ian. Thanks for having me back.
It's a pleasure. I mean, I thought let's just start with the George Osborne. I thought it was fairly despicable to turn up at somebody's wedding and make, whether you're a lone protester, I don't care whether you represent yourself or anybody else. I just thought it was not a nice thing to do.
It's pretty lame, and you've got to wonder, like, if they think they're making a political statement, what kind of political statement is it to go and interrupt a wedding in that way? How does it change things for your cause or for society in a positive way? I don't really have very much time for George Osborne, and of all the things I can think of, I'd like, to do to him to get, as it were, to make policy changes in the way I'd like them. Throwing silly confetti at him is probably the lowest on the list. What I'd rather do is engage him in debate. We could have a very big, interesting debate about the last 15 years of economics. Of course, George Osborne was the man who appointed Mark Carney to be the governor of the Bank of England, and therein lies a lot of the trouble we're having now. If you look at the bank, not to take this discussion too far away from the point, but if you look at the Bank of England's website, a lot of it could have been written by Greenpeace, or even Just Stop Oil itself. Yeah. It's actually pretty green bonkers. So I'd like to talk to him about that, and then for him to explain why he made those decisions and what the legacies of, for example, the so-called austerity that we're now living with. And what he makes of his successors' decisions. So there's much better ways. Yeah, there's lots of.
But I mean, I've noticed that the mad left have kind of decided that because they didn't like George Osborne and his policies, therefore he's fair game to have his wedding disrupted. And I find that a kind of curious position, because you could literally apply that argument to anyone.
Well, yeah, when I was growing up, and I used to sort of think that the left was the intellectual centre of gravity. Yeah. The left, people on the left, they were the smart guys. They'd read all the books, and the Marxists especially had this sort of forensic knowledge of economics, and they would be able to speak about all matters at depth. But actually, the left now just seems to be characterised by something, especially the Green left, something quite spiteful and nasty, and intent on trapping people and in moral traps, or holding people to ransom morally. If you don't believe such and such thing, then you're a Nazi or a racist, or you want to destroy the planet. And where we just might have a difference of agreement, opinion. That in the past, people with intellectual confidence would have been able to explore in good faith and democratically.
Yeah, I saw. Who's that guy that plays the part of a deranged left-wing Guardian journalist? Oh, Owen Jones, that fella. I saw him on the TV this morning, kind of talking about how it's fine. This kind of stuff is okay, and look. I don't think it ruined their wedding. I'm not suggesting that. But it just, the idea that you can kind of pick and choose when it comes to this kind of stuff. And there is a wider debate about Just Stop Oil, of course, in this, because it might have been George Osborne's wedding on that particular date, but it's been Wimbledon tennis matches, it's been the cricket, it's been the snooker, and, of course, every road surface that you can glue your bits and pieces to as well. These people have caused mass disruption. What is our response, or should our response be, if ministers and the police are saying to judges, hand down tougher sentences? Are you hopeful that could even happen, Ben?
Not really. I mean, quite a few judges. I mean, some judges I think have passed down the appropriate sentences, but quite a few judges and the milieu they're from, I think, is needs investigation here, if you see what I mean. But they a lot of them have actually commended these people. They've said that they're brave and that they're doing the right thing, and that's not what judges should be doing. Judges should be interpreting the law as it is, not giving these people a pat on the back. And I wonder what's happening to the judiciary and to what's going on beneath the surface in the legal world to be so permissive about this sort of thing. Because Just Stop Oil and their predecessor, Extinction Rebellion, were very clear about it. They set out with the intention, because of the hypothesis of their founder, Roger Hallam. They believed that once they'd achieved a certain number of arrests, like once so many of their membership were in jail, then they would somehow have achieved a social and political revolution.
That's right.
You'd have to ask them for a full account of that. But part of what if you listen to them speaking, and they're saying it clearly to MPs, Gail Bradbrook, another co-founder of Extinction Rebellion, said it very clearly in evidence to a select committee in Parliament. She said that they believe that the social contract is broken. Now, that's a very sort of nebulous, woolly, political, theoretical term. But what it basically means is that they've given themselves permission to go and behave in public in any way that they decide is necessary to achieve the political goals that they have, which are kind of radical and weird at the same time. And that means disrupting any kind of event whatsoever. It means blocking the roads. It means disturbing other people's weddings, disturbing people's enjoyment of sports and entertainment. And so the social contract, essentially, to most people, most of the day, means that you believe that you can go and carry on your life as normal without being molested by other people. And that's not something they want to grant to anyone else. When you walk down the street, you don't want to feel like there's any antagonism between you and other members of the community, your neighbours and other people who you share the road with. But they want to dissolve that. They want to take apart the very essence, the very glue that keeps society together, so that we do what they tell us.
And spectacularly, and I don't know how this is lost on them, because of course their belief, Ben, is that they are on the moral side of everything. So whatever you throw at them, they can always throw back, but the end of the world is more important than your snooker tournament or whatever. And so they have this curious, frankly, anti-intellectual position, and I say that because there's not even a left-wing government around the world that are adopting the kind of policies they're asking for. You might think by now one of them would have done, bearing in mind we're talking about the end of time, that there'd be a government somewhere that'd be going, well, we might have to do this stuff a bit, we've done COVID, so we can act if we want to. No one's doing what they're asking.
That's right, and they should be very careful about it, because the governments have done a lot, which is very radical, without what I would argue is the due democratic process. We haven't really been consulted as the public, or as voters, on whether we want this agenda, the agenda that there has been, and that the likes of Just Stop Oil want us to go further on.
And that's the point, isn't it? They want us to go further, and I don't know whether even some of the governments we're seeing now will even do that. Ben, I have to cut in because the news is literally upon us. Ben Pyle, though, co-founder, Climate Debate UK, with us here on TalkTV.